2, 1, and all right, we're back.
Yo, what's up, Unelectables?
Welcome to our latest webisode, the show between shows.
Yeah, man, there's too much going on to only do once a week. You gotta get down in the nitty gritty.
Got a lot of events, a lot of news going around. Half the country on fire. Got 2 hurricanes about to hit the same spot at the same time.
Yeah, man.
Got
It's
some
crazy.
convention stuff.
Yeah, like the California shit is real too, because as we've seen, they don't have their prison labor, their
Right.
slave labor. They've been, I don't know exactly, like their population, the prison population has gone down with
Mhm.
COVID, so they haven't been able to get as much free labor in there. And I saw some tweets from firefighters who were like, "Yeah, all the stuff we have, all the effective stuff, you have to do preemptively. It's not, it doesn't help to like you could fight it a little bit, but basically you're praying for the weather to change, right? Like you need the wind to blow the right direction. Like you can dig holes and stuff, or like
And
dig trenches, but like if it doesn't, if the wind blows the wrong way, no matter nothing you do can really stop it. So you know,
yeah,
these guys
and
weren't optimistic. They thought we were going to lose some serious towns.
well, it seems like if you would, there's a map out there that I'll probably go ahead and include on here that shows it's really half the country. You have wildfires all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was looking also, and there was there was like a breakout of lightning strikes, which is I mean, it doesn't help anything when you're trying to go ahead and contain all these fires all over the place. But
Damn,
it
that's
was
how
a
a lot of
crazy
them
number
start.
too. It was at 10,800 lightning strikes across California just in the past 72 hours, and it caused at least 367 fires.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
people talk about climate change. I mean,
I
that's
think
where you
the
see the ramifications
hurricanes,
of it.
I think the hurricanes will probably, I mean, they look like they're kind of petering out. Like they fucked some
Yeah.
shit up in the Caribbean, but
Yeah, I
usually,
think it was Barbados that they hit, or Haiti and DR probably
yeah.
got the brunt of that.
I saw 11 people were dead this afternoon, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be able to maintain their fury when they get to America.
Yeah,
Um,
they said they should be touching down. One of them is touching down in Texas. I saw.
okay, yeah, so it looked like they're both heading towards Louisiana area.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, those probably won't be that big of a deal. But those fires, man, I'm worried about them. Like,
Yeah.
I think
But why don't we go talk about some other fires more in
fire
the
in Kenosha,
fire
the
in
burning of the
Kenosha?
courthouse.
That's the
Yeah, man.
one.
I
Now,
mean,
as we
people have been
know,
saying not to show it, but I mean, you have to show it. Like, you can't. Like, these situations are also volatile. I mean, first of all, if a cop shoots an innocent man, it's fucked no matter what. But like, the way the discourse has been, you have to know the specific details to be able to talk about it intelligently, because the bootlickers will say whatever, right?
well, let's back up a little bit. So, as we've known for a while now, over the George Floyd shooting, people have been in mass protests. There's been massive civil unrest all throughout the country. And that was before this latest shooting of Jacob Blake. You could go ahead and break it down because you know a little bit more about the backstory.
I mean, I just heard Ben Dixon talking about it this morning. The way he said it was like apparently um, Blake was driving by with his family in the car. I think they were on the way to a barbecue or something, and he had his uh, his wife or his girlfriend and his 3 kids in the car, and he saw the 2 ladies fighting and stopped to break it up. I don't know if he knew them or not, but he was separated out his 2 neighbors from fighting, and the cops rolled up, and he was trying to leave, like, you know, I'm not involved here. I don't want to be involved. Do your thing, cops, like whatever. And you know, as you can see in the clip, he was trying to walk away back to his car, and the fucking bitch ass cop like couldn't be bothered to even try to you know like grip him up or anything. He didn't even grab, like, he grabbed his shirt, but like, why? What
Right.
makes you? pull your gun out and shoot the guy instead of trying to tackle the guy or do anything other than not kill the guy. It's like they're just itching for an excuse to kill somebody. It's like
It really
it's so
does
hard
seem
to
that
find a good
way.
faith spin on it, you know?
Well, I mean, you should see the bootlickers trying because right away they said, "Why is he going back into the car? He probably was going after a weapon. This damn kid's in the car.
He's trying to leave,
He's
man.
trying to leave. He wasn't even part of that situation. It wasn't his involvement. He went over, tried to do the right thing, I guess, in his eyes to go and break up whatever was going on. And then he's walking away. He's not a threat. There's not a thing about he's gonna go and do anything to the cops. And then they just go and they shoot him in the back 7 times. And luckily, it looks like he's gonna go ahead and pull through. But still, I mean, by all means, this dude should be dead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he survives. Like they were trying to kill him. You know, it's
Exactly.
attempted murder. Like I don't know what justification they could have for that. Like I'm sure the bootlickers will come up with something because they, you know, it seemed like when George Floyd first got killed, all of them, you know, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, like the whole, as you know, the far right ghouls were out trying to say they were all trying to like humanize themselves, you know, being like, oh, like this is horrible, like we can't defend that, you know, that Chauvin, like he belongs in jail, and then the protest dragged on. You could see they were finding ways to like go back on their story, right? So like whenever like a
Right.
bit of body cam footage or something came out, then they would have some new rhetoric about why actually he was a junkie who deserved it. You know, like they would find some other way to fucking, you know, demonize him. It's like it seems like they kind of learned their lesson, you know, learned their
Yeah.
lesson, quote unquote. And now they just respond as viciously as possible whenever there's a shooting and don't give an inch, you know? It's just the cop was in the right no matter what, right?
Yeah, and that's what you see from the bootlickers commenting on the videos all over the place. They're just gonna go ahead and just go full tilt, try to find an excuse for why this dude deserved to get shot, walking away when I mean there's not a threat to these cops. He's
It's
walking
like
away.
I don't know who these people are either because like even before I don't know, I guess I always hated cops, right? But like even when I was a kid, like every time I had a run in with the cops, they were absolutely disgraceful, terrible people that it was obvious what they were trying to do. Like they weren't there to help anyone, protect anyone. They were there to, you know, enforce their rule, right? Like they're like, you know, they care about power, right? They don't care about it's like people try to say that they're like, oh, they're there to protect capital, they're there to protect property. And yeah, they are, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to exert their power on people, right? And their goal is
Right.
to bully people. So that's what they
So
do.
so
These
then
people, it's like, have you never met a cop before? Like, how do you have this worldview where cops can do no wrong? Like, I've never met a cop doing right, and you've apparently never met a cop acting like themselves. You've only met
right.
cops who are on their best behavior. Get the fuck out of here
Well,
with that.
following the shooting, of course, the protest broke out, and at one point, the cop that actually shot Jacob Blake was confronted by protesters, and somebody popped him with a brick. And we'll
Oh,
go
that
ahead
was
and
him
keep
who got hit
our
with the brick?
yeah.
Oh,
That's what I
I thought
kept
that
seeing.
was
No,
that was a different cop because the cop who
no,
got
they
hit with the
popped
brick
him.
was wearing the white shirt, which is usually what the bosses wear.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll go ahead and keep our eyes on this story and let you know if the brick is okay.
Yeah, man, that brick, fucking heroic brick. This just reminds me of that Simpsons, like where Homer went to space
Right.
and he like was trying to be employee of the month. I forget what happened. Like at the beginning of it, he was jealous that he never got to be employee of the month. But then he
Right.
goes to space. He ends up doing something heroic and saving the day. And he comes back, and they all are praising the inanimate carbon rod. And then Mr. Burns gives the inanimate carbon rod the employee of the month instead of Homer.
Yes.
That's how I feel about the brick.
Well, after the whole brick incident, of course, the protests and the civil uprising didn't let up. They eventually the was it the courthouse there in
I don't
Kenosha?
know. I'm looking at it on the screen right now. It looks like I don't know what that big building is. It looks like it's a courthouse though. So
Yeah,
maybe it was something else they burned down. They burned down a lot of shit in town though. Like
there was a lot of fires over
they
there. A
burned
lot
down. I
of
saw 5 dump trucks get torched.
yeah,
Um,
and at one point,
the
um,
car dealership got torched
yeah,
too.
that got burned down as well. And yeah, now you said that they're gonna send in the National Guard.
I mean, I'm looking at it now. There's like those green Humvees and shit. Um, parked out front of, like, there's a big, looks like a courthouse downtown Kenosha.
Mhm.
Like, the way I saw it is, like, it should just be like, when the cops do that, they should expect the courthouse to get burnt down, right?
Right.
They should expect to lose a precinct or something every single time, because it's clear that no matter what, they're not holding these bastards accountable, right? They're
No,
not. No
not at
matter
all.
what they do, it's like Chauvin's probably going to get off too. They're probably all going to get off, right? Like, none of these cops are, like, less than 1% of cops go down for any of this shit. They retire with their pensions. They, like, get full benefits. They get administrative leave. Like, these cops are on administrative leave, so they're getting paid to sit at home and do nothing.
Right.
Like, they probably won't go to jail, right? Like, they might get fired, but it's probably unlikely. And, like you said, the bootlickers are finding rationales to defend them, and it's like, the reason people get so pissed off, as soon as the incident happens, the press release comes out when it's like, oh, there was an officer involved shooting, or there was a shooting and the officer was involved. Like, they always try to find a way to weasel out of taking accountability for it. They never just say, we fucked up, like, this cop is bad, he's going to be losing his job. Like, they
And when you
still
have a
can't
system
do
like
that.
that, when you
Yeah.
have a system like that constantly defends bad cops or bad apples, that rots the whole barrel. So this whole idea of where you have good cops, and I'm sure not all of them are bad, it's a culture. It's an entire culture that's permeated through whatever behavior is out there. Because cops will defend cops. That's just
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
No matter
ACAP.
what they're doing, they're gonna be part of that bootlicker crew like you're saying. That's gonna go ahead and say, no, 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 there was a justification for this. Just let me think hard enough, and I'll come up with one.
Yeah.
So
There's no justification for this. That guy's fucking kid sitting right there. Like, what kind of a soulless prick do you have to be to do that? Like, even if you could justify it, like, in the abstract, like these people are doing, like, imagine being that cop on doing that, right? Like, on the scene, being like, oh, this guy's gonna get in his car and drive away. I better shoot him so he doesn't get in his car. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Especially with all the people on the street. There's attention on this. This is going to cause a huge uprising, and you do it anyway. Just like, that is a toxic culture. That's not, you can't reform that. Like, this shit has to be torn down and start over again. Like, these cops will never submit. They will never heal. They will never accept accountability for their actions. It's their way or the highway. And we see what they do. It's like, they have all these cities by the balls, right? They can just, like, they're already, we saw the New York police union endorsing Trump. Like, the Republicans are willing to do whatever it takes to stand up for the cops. And I don't know though, man. It's so hard to tell what's going on with people, because you know these polling numbers, right? Like,
right.
we had the RNC tonight, the
Yeah.
DNC last week,
DNC
which,
last week, RNC started tonight. So just off of the DNC, we do got new polling from the battleground states and from independent voters. So just to go start off with the independent voters, post DNC. So post DNC, that we had CBS News YouGov poll that had before the DNC started was let's see, it was Trump only behind was only ahead by 5 in the
mhm,
DNC YouGov poll with independents. He was up 45% to 40%. Post DNC, Trump has expanded his lead to 47-37. So he's up 10 points now on Biden among independents. In the battleground states, just a comparison at this point versus Hillary. Hillary was up 11 and a half points in Wisconsin, 9.2 points in Pennsylvania, 1.7 in North Carolina, 3.6 in Florida, and +8 in Michigan and +4.8 in Ohio. As of now, Biden is only ahead 6.5 points in Wisconsin, 5.7 in Pennsylvania. He's behind Trump in North Carolina. He's 5 ahead in Florida, 6.7 in Michigan, and 2.3 in Ohio. So he's doing worse compared to Hillary in every single one of those states.
wow. I mean, I guess you could say it was different back then, right? Like, people hadn't made their mind up yet. They hadn't
Mhm.
really seen what kind of guy Trump was, and Trump ran a really good campaign, and he's running a piss poor campaign this time. Like, the only way he is getting anywhere is because the Democrats' campaign is equally terrible, right? Like,
Well, and
it's
their
so hard to
convention
tell
must
where
have
the
been
people
complete
are.
trash
Well, it
then.
was complete trash. We saw it, man. It was terrible. It was
But I mean,
like
the majority of voters must have seen it the same way that we did because you do not go into a convention
there was.
and drop.
Well, like, here's the thing about tonight was like it was a bunch of fucking crazy people yelling crazy shit. Like Kimberly Guilfoyle. Like, I don't even know what her deal was, but she was apparently full fash,
And Trump
and
Jr.
like
I mean,
Trump Jr. was so yacked out, man.
I
Like,
mean, I'm
oh
pretty
god,
sure that Scarface was catering the
he's
convention
been
just
hanging out with
between the two of
Falwell
them.
Jr., man.
You
Falwell
know,
Jr. and Don Jr. and Hunter, fucking
yeah,
chilling.
I
Uh,
mean, it's all the same club. Who knows? They probably have the same dealer, whatever it was,
like the shit
but
they're saying is all the same nonsense. Like cancel culture. Like they had
they're,
the
they're
fucking McCloskeys up there, the gun
at,
people.
right, and then they went at Cory Bush.
Like,
Uh, yeah, the McCloskeys, for y'all that don't remember, were that nice Missouri couple that went and pulled guns out on the
I
protesters.
thought they were Democrats. I
Yeah, I
guess
thought they
not.
were Democrats too, but I mean, maybe
They're
they
rich
switched party
people.
affiliations or something. I
Yeah,
don't know
they're
what they did,
rich.
but
They support both parties. They support whoever's
yeah, I
in
mean, it
power.
doesn't matter. It's all in the interest of capital. But well, the McCloskeys accused our newest member of the squad to they accused her of being a Marxist, lawless woman who will bring socialism to all of America.
I thought they called her a Marxist activist.
It was a no, it was a Marxist liberal. That was it. It was a Marxist liberal. It was like two completely different things that
Liberal
they went.
socialism. Um,
That's what they went and accused Cory Bush of, which I mean, if they're just gonna want to elevate her platform and her profile already so soon, then I mean, by all means, go ahead.
damn it,
But,
fucking fires growing in Kenosha.
mm,
Um, yeah, Trump has been talking about her. I heard him say something else. He was like, "Oh, Lacey, what happened, my man? We couldn't do it. Lacey, what happened?" Like, they're scared of her because they know she won't. Like it took AOC a while to like calm her rhetoric, right? Like, remember when AOC first
right?
won, she was like
Yeah.
protesting at Pelosi's office and shit,
Oh
and
yeah. I mean,
they
she
eventually got her
was.
to heal a little bit. But
I think she for AOC. I mean, for me, I look at her. She tempered down things because I think she has higher ambitions than she's thinking about that kind of thing.
yeah, this is all
Whereas you look at
strategy
some.
for her. And Cory Bush is just
Well, yeah, when
she's
you look at
still
somebody like Cory Bush or Rashida Tlaib, I think they're both going to be kind of similar when it comes to being in office. Where I mean, you see Rashida Tlaib over here at the hearings with the Post Master General DeJoy.
This appears to be a classic example of conflict of interest and insider trading. Yes or no, will you commit right now to divest any and all financial interest in Amazon to avoid illegal insider trading?
Ma'am, that was a lot of time on an issue that doesn't matter. I don't own any Amazon.
You have financial interest. You can call it whatever you want, Mr.
I
DeJoy.
don't own
It is a
anything
financial
with
interest.
Amazon. You can continue to.
Until you do that, your financial interest in Amazon will continue to be problematic and illegal and a conflict of interest. Regarding this matter, you have a simple choice, Mr. DeJoy. You can either resign or divest in that interest. This impeached president, Mr. Joy, you have to realize has a track record of employing crooks who end up in a lot of trouble for their illegal activities, Mr. Joy. Rick Gates, Paul Manafort, Mike Flynn, Michael Cohen, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon. With all due respect, you are not in good company right now. So do the right thing and resign. And I thank the Madam Chair for bringing this to our attention. And please, on behalf of the 13th Congressional District, all we want is for our folks to have access to a qualified postmaster general that understands the importance of medication, understands that the workers need protection at the workplace, and that we are going to actually get mail delivered on time. Because what we hear on the streets, Mr. DeJoy, is completely the opposite of what you're saying to us. And you've done so much damage in just short a period of time that you've been there. And I do believe there's a conflict of interest, and you need to understand there are legal consequences to that.
I mean, she just gave zero fucks and went right at it and
well,
I
like
mean, chewed his ass out.
with that issue though, like when the liberals are on your side, you can go hard. Like you'll
Right.
see like AOC, like she always goes hard when it's like like a pro-choice question, right?
Mhm.
When it's like a reproductive health question, like she'll go harder on that than she will if it's an economic question. It's like you see shit like like Pelosi endorsing Joe Kennedy It's like,
Oh,
you know what
well,
I mean?
AOC did call her out on that one though.
Yeah, but
Which,
like, you know that the establishment is not on your side on 99% of the issues.
right?
On this one issue, they are, so means you can go even harder at the Republicans on it. It's like Bernie too, you know, like
Yeah.
Bernie always says things like, "Oh, the Republicans are trying to do this," when it's like, you know, it's the bipartisan consensus, Bernie. Like, you know,
Yeah, and he has to know this deep down in we should go and talk about it. There was that Trump press conference where he talked a little bit about Super Tuesday, Bloody Monday, and the DNC's treatment of Bernie.
Frankly, Bernie Sanders, they have much more enthusiasm for him, but Bernie Sanders, excuse me, again, he's the greatest loser I've ever seen. This guy can lose and be so happy. Hillary Clinton, I want to use nice language, so I don't want to use a certain word. Starts with the word S, C. I don't want to use it because they'll say he used foul language while in North Carolina. But so I won't do that. But Bernie Sanders got taken advantage of. Is that okay? By Hillary Clinton. But worse, by the Democrats this time. Because if Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, got out of the campaign one day prior to the Super Tuesday vote, Bernie Sanders would have won every single state because Biden won by a little bit, and she didn't do well, but she took thousands and thousands of votes away in each state. If you add just a percentage of those votes back, that means that Bernie would have won easily the nomination. And I'm glad he didn't because he had much more enthusiasm. Yeah. And he would have had a base, much smaller base than ours, but equally, I have to say this, equally as enthusiastic. This base doesn't like Joe Biden. They don't like Joe Biden. Right. I think we're going to get a lot of votes. We did last time. People were surprised, primarily because of trade, because I know how other countries take advantage of us, and I understand that. And that's something that Bernie Sanders people really feel, because I understand trade.
He called him the best loser of all time because the DNC constantly screws him over, and then he goes and he still supports them.
no, he's
There's
not
not a lot of
wrong,
time.
but
I
that's
mean,
for
there's not a lot
demigods
of times I'm
too,
gonna
man.
agree with Trump, but on that one, I mean, he went into detail about, look, it was all fixed. Look, Elizabeth Warren would have dropped out the day before Super Tuesday, Bernie would have won easily. And he
Yeah,
even went
no.
in and he even went and talked up Bernie's base a little bit. There's all the enthusiasm in the party is with the left. And it would have been. He even says as much again. It would be harder to defeat Bernie than Biden. When it says it,
Yeah.
and he's not lying.
No, he's not lying. Bernie would be kicking his ass right now because Biden can't even indict him properly. Biden can't even explain what he's doing wrong. When Don Jr. gets up there fucking yacked out of his mind and says like, "Oh, Joe Biden, he's the Loch Ness monster of the swamp. He's going to take all your money and stick it back in the swamp. He's going to take your tax money, blah blah blah." Like Joe Biden can't even explain why that's wrong, right? Because A, he agrees with it, like, and B, like he agrees with it. He's been making those kinds of arguments his whole career about austerity, right? And B, like his brain's gone, right? Like he can't explain why Trump's policies are harmful to America. He can only speak in short declarative sentences, and like that's the problem they have is like not only is he a bad politician with bad policies, he is a bad human being. Like his brain's not up to the task. So like they're gonna have to do this whole campaign now that it's getting closer. It's like Trump fucking crashed the economy and 170,000 people are dead, and he's
And
talking about cancel culture and nonsense like that. And
he still
Biden,
might win.
exactly. He should be up. Biden should be up. If it was any competent Democrat, they'd be up 25 points. But they have this whole convention where they talk about absolutely nothing. No talk about jobs. No talk about healthcare. No talk about immigration. Like a little bit of immigration talk, I guess. Like because they try to hit the Republicans with kids in cages when that's they would never say it to their face because they know they'll get called out on it. But like they'll kind of hint about it and shit like that is the only kind of rhetoric they talk about, and it's all mostly just orange man bad, right? It's all mostly
It's
just
really
like
and it's really what it is. And just off the top of my head, if you would have
but it's
a
not even
nominee,
bad policies either, though, is the other thing. If it was orange man bad because his policies are bad, it's orange man bad
well,
because he does mean
that's
tweets.
right. It's not okay. So if Bernie was a nominee right now, and we were looking at a convention where Bernie was going to go ahead and address the problems right now with Trump. He would bring up COVID, say 170,000 people are dead under his watch. How many people was 7 million people lost their jobs under his watch? That means they lost their health care if they had any to begin with. And that's why we need Medicare for all, because this failing system of tying your health care to your employer is just exposed right here with a giant weakness.
Yeah.
So that's it.
It's the same for every issue, because Joe Biden wants to present his platform as if it's the sane Republican platform, right? Like Trump's platform would be okay if he wasn't so crazy, right? Like
That's
Trump's
what it
a
is.
bad Republican, not the Republicans' agenda is bad because it's bad for working families. It's bad because Trump is bad. So they don't have any of the substantive differences between the parties. Like it's shaping up to be, the one party is the Democrats, and the Republicans are a marginalized far right party, like a niche party that has like 25% of the country or whatever, and that's like an extremist party that is like, and then the bulk of the country will be in the Democratic Party. That's basically one party corporate oligarchy, like corporatocracy or whatever. Like that's the future we're looking at right now, because nobody wants to let the left in anywhere, right? Like all this talk of like the right wing populism is fucking a facade. That's nonsense. And the Democratic Party is so hostile to any kind of like mildly left ideas. So it's just the one establishment party. It's not even, it's, I don't even know. It's like, it's hard to find a historical analog because it's so conservative. The platform is so conservative, and all of their goals and ideas and all are Republican stuff, right? Like that's what I remember Republicans being about. Like Joe Biden, like I said, he's indistinguishable from a Republican, right? Like,
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, he's basically a moderate Republican masquerading as a Democrat, and they're still going to come out here and say that he's Fidel Castro.
yeah, man, that's
That's where
fucking.
we are.
And to think that that kind of strategy would be as effective as it is, it's just mind blowing. Like, that's truly an indictment on neoliberalism, and nobody wants to recognize that. They're going to say, "Oh, we need to be more racist," or like they're going to try to adopt like other things from Trump's platform and like embody that, and not like, "Oh, you mean the fact that he's actually talking about how he wants to fix a problem?" Like that couldn't be appealing to any voters, could it? Like his ideas are all wrong and crazy and bullshit, but like there's still, he's saying we need to do X, Y, and Z to address A, B, C problem, right? Like I didn't hear any of that from the DNC last week at all. Like I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's
Well,
sad state of affairs.
we have a whole week of RNC to find out. All right. Well, the last thing I want to go ahead and wrap up on was our history segment. Graphic
It's
and all this shit.
History Hour with Tony and Matt. History Hour, where we learn about history. History Hour.
The War of 1812.
Oh, it's my
So,
favorite war.
well, it's one of the lesser known wars. I think it doesn't get a lot of attention,
Yeah,
but
because it was so based.
well,
That's
it
why I never
was
talk about it.
well, it was a war that we fought with the British. It wasn't even that long after we had just won our independence. It was under our fourth president, James Madison, and it was precipitated by some of these British sanctions that were going on during the Napoleonic Wars, and also there
Well,
was
we were
something called.
trying to like sell guns to the French or something.
No, I think there was just a whole overall restriction on trade during this war as a precaution. And the other thing was that a lot of people that were wanting to go ahead and they didn't want to go and fight in the war on the British side, tried to go ahead and flee to America. So the British took it upon themselves to go ahead and take them back. And one of these incidents that they did was called the Chesapeake Leopard Affair. And that was where the
Sounds
British
dope.
seized one of the American ships that we had and killed a bunch of people and took their deserters back. So then
Damn.
but you'd be proud about this though, but back then the Congress actually had a formal declaration of war.
Well,
And yes, so we went to war with the British for a second time. And essentially for a large part of it we got our asses kicked all over the place.
would they do that now, do you think?
What's
Like,
that?
say, I don't know, say like the Japanese Navy, say the Japanese Navy um, were trying to board an American ship and got hostile and sunk the American ship. Like,
Oh,
what do you think we would do?
oh no, no, that's bad. No, that we would have
We
like a
wouldn't go
full
to war though
retaliation.
if it was an ally.
I mean, so at the time, the British were our main trade partner. They took up like about 80% of our cotton.
That's what I'm saying. So if it
So,
was somebody who I mean, not China, like who knows if it was China, but like if it was one of our allies, like the
mhm.
Australians or the Japanese, or I mean, the British would get a pass. I feel like probably any of the other European countries probably too, right? Like we're not going to go to
I mean, I
war
don't
with
know
them.
if you give. I mean, for if you're saying that they just straight board our shit and then go ahead and try to take people
I don't know. Say it's like they,
hostage. I mean,
I mean, say they had illegal grounds to it to board the ship. Like say
mhm.
there was some sort of rule they were breaking, like they were in 1812. They were smuggling people out of Britain. So like, say it was an actual law, they actually had legal grounds to be there.
Yeah,
But
I think that sort of thing probably would have been worked out beforehand with the countries. It wouldn't have been a thing where they just seized our shit and then took people off and then kept them hostage. If we're talking
no, I'm
about a
saying,
country
what if
doing
they
that
seized the
now,
ship and then they got say like they got spooked and sunk the ship like semi by accident?
yeah, that would be a horrible scandal. I mean, I don't know if it would lead immediately to war, but it would definitely heighten tension between the two countries, no matter the status.
I feel like if it was the right country and the right administration, they'd go to war over it.
Oh yeah, if it depends on like if it was Iran, let's say Iran did that. Oh no, it'd be on.
Well, I mean, Iran did something like that not too long ago.
Hmm.
That
But I
was
mean,
one of the
straight up
best things
seizing one of
Trump
our
did, not going to war over that. Like the
right.
neocons were pressing him on it.
Well, yeah, they with the bombing of one of our bases over there.
Yeah,
That I mean,
remember it was when the drone they bombed one of our ships with a drone or something, or the drone.
yeah,
Uh,
but if we're in a situation where one of our naval vessels was actually captured, yeah, that would
yeah, by the
probably
army. I mean, yeah, if it was the navy, yeah. I mean,
so.
I feel like if it
But
was Europe, they'd get a pass. Anywhere else,
uh,
they'd probably get fucked up.
probably. Well, the main couple of stories that comes out of that War of 1812, other than we kind of got our asses kicked all over the place, was
My favorite story
um,
is when the Irish tried to invade Canada. The Irish Americans, or was that later on? I thought that was during the War of
well,
1812.
that was one of the other things that heightened tensions during the War of 1812 was there was a threat of American expansionism into Canada.
Well, like,
So when
yeah,
the British went through and we lost a few battles, and one of the major things that we lost was when there was a siege on Washington and the original White House was burned down, and Dolly Madison, the first lady at the time, escaped from the city holding the picture or portrait of George Washington. And as they kind of fled from the town, then yeah, everything was just burning behind them. Now, the biggest win for the American side during the war actually came after they already settled on a treaty that we violated, was at the Battle of New Orleans that was under the command of Andrew Jackson. Now, at this battle, our troops were outnumbered by about 2,000, and we essentially routed them out of the city of New Orleans, and that was the last battle on the continental United States.
so this was after they had a treaty. This
Yeah,
was
so there
still a
was a
British
so
contingent,
yeah, so remember there was like a there was
like
a
the
time delay
Japanese in the
between
caves.
yeah, so there was a time delay between getting the news across the pond and everything. So they thought that the war was still on. So then there was a we had a whole battle to defend New Orleans, and
Oh wow,
Andrew
so
Jackson
they, wow.
well, yeah, Andrew Jackson put together this group of different people. There were pirates in there. There were some soldiers. There were some merchants, whatever it is. But the way they fortified it and the strategy that Andrew Jackson used led to a rout in that battle where we lost 13 people. They lost something like 300. He captured another 500, wounded another 1,300 of their people. We only lost the 13. So
So we fucked them
um,
up.
we really fucked them up. But the funny thing is that that was already post treaty, so it didn't really matter anything. But
I'm
that is
sure
the
it
last
mattered to the
time.
troops.
Yep, that was the last time that anybody came onto the continental United States and started a battle.
Smarter people write about this, but like the reason why America is so, militaristic is because we escaped the worst of World War II and World War One, like getting
Well, we
our
did
own
because
country fucked up.
well, yeah, that was if you think about it, with between World War One and Two, everything was fought in Europe or in the Pacific.
Mhm.
You know, we never had to go and see war here.
Exactly.
So Europe was ravaged by 2 world wars and carpet bombed, and
Yeah, the whole continent too, because
and then you have of course the 2 A bombs on Japan. So
yeah, well, plus hundreds, probably thousands of other bomber missions, sorties over Japanese mainland. But yeah, man,
all right, so that's all the time that we got right now for this webisode.
I feel like that was good talk.
I think so. I think we got a lot in,
Did we
but
forget anything?
I don't think so. I think we got everything covered. But y'all can go ahead and follow the show at Unelectable A on Twitter. Make sure you go check out our latest episode of the podcast where we interviewed Vero Carvajal. She's running for mayor in El Paso. So that's
Yeah.
out now. So y'all can go ahead and check it out.
Impressive lady.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I should make some calls for Vera.
All right. We're out.
Yeah, later.